really want this show.
Hey, welcome to Absurdist Asylum.
Thanks for joining us in the Asylum. I am Jason, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host Jeff, and this is our official Logan review. Keep in mind there will be spoilers, but it's not until halfway through the episode, and we do give you some heads up. Please forgive the slight echo through the show, and we are going to end on the theme from the original X-Men cartoon in the 90s, because that's how I was introduced to Wolverine and the X-Men crew, unlike most people who were introduced to them through the comics.
Hey, should we do a shot before we start?
Yes, let's do a shot.
Let's take a drink. Cheers.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to Absurdist Asylum. At this point, if you don't know already, Logan is out. It's amazing. Everyone is talking about it. Those who aren't talking about it wish that they were. And tonight, we're going to put our word down on it. I'm here with Jeff, as usual. Jeff, how are you today?
Fuck you, White Devil.
Oh, Jeff. Always a character. Jeff, now, I went and saw Logan, the not opening night, but later that day. Not any of the midnight showings, but later that day. When did you wind up going and seeing it?
I waited until Sunday to avoid the douche crowd, and 10 minutes before the showtime, I was pleasantly surprised with the lack of douche, and then probably a minute later, no exaggeration, 10 groups of 5 or 6 douche bags, a gaggle of douche bags just walked in as if somebody cut open their fucking douche hive and they all just kind of diarrheaed their way into the theater, and I was like, God damn it.
So you enjoyed your experience is what you're telling me.
I mean, we'll talk about it.
I don't normally go to movies on opening day. Rogue One was actually the first movie I went to on opening day, and the theater was not nearly as crowded as it was for Logan, which I think kind of speaks to the power, the volume of this movie. There's a lot of people. It's been, 17 years to the date that the first X-Men movie came out?
Yeah. So Jesus Christ, we are so old.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So 17 years to the date, there's a lot of people who have, whether they've seen all of the X-Men movies like we have, or they, have only seen the first couple and fell in love with the Logan character. This movie was relevant for everybody who had anything, who liked anything about the X-Men franchise.
We'll talk about it.
So, before we get into Logan too far, there were some trailers. There were some interesting trailers, I'd say, and some not as interesting trailers. Jeff, what's something that you saw that you either thought looked like hot garbage or you actually think might be interesting?
I mean, none of them were really either or. Everything was just pretty average. At least it painted a really average picture of everything. But Alien Covenant, which we talked about last time, but I'm excited for that, sort of as excited as I can be. This is a newer trailer that they played in front of it. I had seen it, but nobody else I was with had seen it, so I guess it's a newer trailer. Or maybe everybody I know is just oblivious, but that looks pretty good. I'm a big Alien fan, as you know, so I am going to see this no matter what. And then everything else just kind of was whatever. I don't know. I don't feel one way or another about most of these. But that Circle movie with Tom Hanks and the
Emma Watson.
Her. That looks bad, and I don't know why that's a movie. Have you ever heard of the novel or whatever that it's based on?
No, I haven't heard of the novel, and like I don't know how many more I don't even know the plot. It just like looked like a corporate like bad guy movie. I don't know how many more of those we need.
Right.
Like,
and here's the other thing is this is either the trailer for this is either the result of a marketing team who sucks at their job, or the movie is the dumbest thing that has ever been birthed. And I will say that I don't want to say what company, but I worked for a company for like a year and a half of my life, and they're a piece of shit, and I hope they burn. Like a big, very famous company. And I got a lot of the same vibes from the leadership there as I got from Tom Hanks in this trailer. So maybe that's why I think this looks like hot garbage, is because it just reminds me of how miserable that whole experience was. So who knows? Maybe it'll, if anything, maybe it's based on that particular company.
It's based on you. A young Emma Watson plays Jeff.
We do have a lot of similarities. like we both have a vagina.
So yeah, all right, fair enough. If that's the case, now you saw the trailer for Life, and Life just struck me as trying to cash in on how much everybody liked Arrival. And Ryan Reynolds, it's like, what if we did that one with Ryan Reynolds? I never saw Arrival, but I know a lot of people liked it.
Yeah, I loved Arrival a lot.
And something with that kind of like vague, I don't know. It looked like it might be trying to be a little more direct.
But here's what's weird is that was based when they all were in production and stuff. I don't think that. Because I was thinking of that too, that it was like Arrival, or I mean, a lot like the first Alien, which is kind of weird that it's, coming out around the same time as Alien Covenant. But I don't think that it was made with the intent to like cash in on anything, except for maybe Ryan Reynolds and Jake Gyllenhaal's charm. But
if you look on I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no,
if you
you're
look
good.
on the IMDb poster, the IMDb page for it, the movie poster that they have is like eerily reminiscent of an Alien poster, where it's got like
yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Like, it's just
exactly.
Like the circle image with like
it's like
the hand
it's the same.
or something.
It looks like the
creepy.
same font too. It looks like the same font that they use.
Well, it could be, yeah.
But I think that's more of a marketing team thing where they just like I bet the movie is nothing like Alien. I bet it's its own thing. It looks sort of like it might be of a similar tone as like Sunshine, which is a really like underrated, awesome movie.
I've heard of it.
Dude, it's got like Chris Evans and Cillian Murphy, and it's like Danny Boyle. It's like amazing, and nobody saw it when it came out, and I saw it and thought it was the greatest thing ever. I watched it like 3 times in one day once.
In the theater?
Amazing. No, I watched it on DVD because it only played in theaters for like a week.
Oh yeah.
And then it disappeared, and I bought it before I saw it because I assumed it would be good, and I was right, like I always am, because I am God.
No, this isn't one that you said was in the showing that you saw, but I had the trailer for the Belko Experiment.
Yeah,
looks like it might be something up your alley.
Yes. So I'm glad you brought that up, because I cannot fucking believe I forgot to talk about that last episode when we were talking about movies we're looking forward to in 2017. That has literally been at the top of my list since I heard about this movie like 2 years ago. So I cannot believe that I did not bring this up. I am super excited about this. The director of that is the same director as Wolf Creek, which I never saw the second one, and I don't really care to, but the first Wolf Creek is awesome. And James Gunn, who everybody now knows from Guardians of the Galaxy, but James Gunn is one of my favorite people and I've followed his whole career since the beginning, like Tromeo and Juliet, and fucking Slither and Super, and he wrote The Specials, which is hilarious. You should see that. So I think between his writing and that directing style, and it's also got like John C. McGinley and James Gunn's brother, Sean Gunn, who's somebody who's not used as much as he should be. And I think that this is going to be the greatest thing ever.
Well, yeah, it looks good, and it also looks like they took, I want to say, the premise from an X-Files show where there's an office. Is it an X-Files show? Where there's an office that the like higher ups of the office make the people fight, and it could be completely different, but yeah, the trailer is something like seeing I forget who it is, the guy who plays Dr. Cox in Scrubs.
John C. McGinley.
John C. McGinley, yeah. Seeing him in it makes me want to see it because he's always funny. I mean, he made Wild Hogs funny, and that was the only thing that made that movie funny.
I don't remember him in Wild Hogs, but anyway, yeah, I've been following this movie for a while, and I am super excited, and yeah, I can't wait. Cannot wait. And if anybody out there has not seen Super with Rainn Wilson, that James Gunn directed, that is fantastic.
Shut up, crime.
Yeah, so good. Probably the best superhero quote-unquote movie in the history of ever. And if you think that I am wrong, you are dumb. Anyway, what else you got?
I'm sure that some Logan fans out there will disagree with you on that, but we'll get there.
We'll talk about it.
What was the other one I saw? Ghost in the Shell. Now, I know you said this wasn't at your theater, but I'm sure you've seen the trailer for Ghost in the Shell. Are you?
Correct.
You're probably not an anime guy. You don't strike me as the type.
You would be correct, but yeah. There's some that I do like, because I just like, same reason I like movies is I just like storytelling. So I have seen some anime that I like. Ghost in the Shell is kind of one of them, but I do not remember it at all. I just remember that I liked it. I don't remember very much. I remember her running above some people, and like I have this weird, vivid like flash of certain things that happened in that movie, but I saw that like Jesus, I don't even know, forever ago, so I'll have to rewatch it. But the movie looks okay. That's all you're getting out of me.
Yeah, it's man, I just hope that they understand that we're just not into watching. It looks like there's a lot of practical effects in it. I actually saw Adam Savage from Mythbusters made the Japanese mask of the
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, the girl, the dancer that it like opens up and it was hacking into that guy in the trailer. That was a practical effect that he made. I saw a GIF of it on Reddit. So they're definitely going to be using some practical effects, and I hope they do as much as they can, because seeing a movie like that just makes me think of like the Gods of War, or was it Gods of Egypt? That was just like so much CGI that you can't watch it. Yeah, well, tell me how you really feel, Jeff. But moving on, I think everybody in the world knows about it now. If you haven't, go to YouTube. It's already up there to watch. Most of us got a little snippet of Deadpool 2 in front of the Logan, in front of the actual movie of Logan. Jeff, what were your thoughts on that? It was a test shot by the director David Leitch, the guy who directed John Wick 2, right? Is that correct?
I honestly didn't know that part
of it
at all.
David Leitch, that was a test shot because he is going to be directing Deadpool 2.
But wait, I didn't think David Leitch didn't direct John Wick 2, though.
Or what did he direct?
He was apparently like, yeah, there's like a weird thing with John Wick where he's like an uncredited director of John Wick. I don't really know. I think it was one of those things where he probably had a large part in directing it, but wasn't able to receive credit for it, like probably like a DGA rule or something.
Okay.
That's what I think. But anyway.
Where I learned that it was him who directed it, the person feeding me that information said that he was involved in or directed John Wick 2.
Weird.
But yeah, they may have just misspoke. But he did have something to do with it that you're aware of?
Yes. I just don't know the extent of it.
Yeah, so they probably just misspoke. Fair enough. You get your information off the internet, you're bound to miss some.
That is very true.
But yeah, there was a lot of cool things in that. I think the most interesting thing was where it said Nathan Summers coming soon in the graffiti on the side of the telephone booth. Did you see that?
I didn't. I was not involved enough to notice that.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm sure you know who Nathan Summers is.
No.
No? Okay. Well, that's Cable from the X-Men universe, who's been known to pair up with Deadpool quite a bit in some of the comics. There's actually even a comic series called Cable and Deadpool.
Okay, I've heard the name Cable before.
Yeah, he's the son of Cyclops.
Okay, so he's the son of Cyclops.
Yeah,
not the brother.
Yeah, no, he's the son of Cyclops and the clone or something like that of Jean Grey. Like, he's not actually Jean Grey's son, but because comics are weird.
Yeah, I hate this already, but go on.
But anyways, he's highly involved in the Deadpool story, and the phone booth, a lot of people saw that it said Nathan Summers coming soon, and it was spelled Cumming, so you probably got a kick out of that. Now, so I guess this is probably not something I can ask you, but there's a lot of speculation about who's going to play him. Since you know nothing about the guy, you probably have no idea. But I think one of the more popular theories is that Pierce Brosnan is actually going to be signed on to play him, because there was recently an Instagram picture of Hugh Jackman, Ryan Reynolds, and Pierce Brosnan hanging out.
Interesting.
I thought so too.
I had heard that. I had heard a couple different things. I know on the IMDb page, the rumored casting for it is David Harbour, but you never know how likely that is. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was David Harbour.
Yeah, I'm not sure who David Harbour is.
Stranger Things, bro.
Oh, actually, I think I did hear that as well.
Yeah.
But the like I said, the theory that I heard was a theory because it had because of that Instagram post.
Right.
So
he's probably in it, but he's probably not that. It's probably David Harbour.
That would be a good choice, I think. I think they were going to have the dude who played the general in Avatar going to be him for a while.
Stephen Lang?
Yep, Stephen Lang. That's the one.
That's my boy.
But, yeah, so now you said you weren't all that involved. Is that just because you're not, you didn't think much of it, or what? Of the Deadpool?
Well, no, I mean, just because it's it's a teaser. I knew it was just going to be like a very quick little, just a, haha, we're still here. Keep us relevant. Keep us in your thoughts. We're still here. Kind of thing.
Do you really think that they needed that for Deadpool, though?
I think some marketing executive thought they needed it for Deadpool.
They're like, they might forget about us because,
yes.
ADD and Twitter.
Yes, I mean, valid points. ADD and Twitter have ruined everything. But I mean, that teaser is like, you can't, I mean, what can you really say about it? Like, it's just kind of like it's cool that it's there. I didn't find it particularly, great or anything. I also, I had seen it before. I saw it in the theater. I saw it online. And I chuckled a little
it
bit.
came out a little bit earlier than.
Yeah. So I thought, I watched it and I was like, okay, this is all right. I bet people are going to be fucking dying laughing like they do to everything just because it's Deadpool and they'll laugh no matter what, even if the jokes are dumb. When I said in the theater, that teaser was pretty much a flat line.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was like dead silent, except for some stupid girl in the corner that is just probably the worst person ever birthed.
Definitely.
And she was like, that's how she laughed. It was atrocious.
Well, you said that you chuckled the first time you saw it, so.
Oh yeah, no, but my voice doesn't sound like just a bunch of shrews being beaten in a bag.
I could disagree with you with that. That's probably why we've only got 4 solid listeners.
Oh. Mm. But yeah, it is what it is. I mean, there's not a lot put into it. It's pretty much a one joke kind of thing. Like it's a teaser. It has one joke. The joke is like a 5 out of 10, and we move on.
What joke are you talking about? Because I thought there was a couple of funny ones, changing in the.
That was the whole thing.
Funny, and then him taking the dude's ice cream was funny, and then him saying you'd probably be alive if Logan was here.
That was dumb, and the changing in the phone booth was funny, and that was it.
Well,
it was him changing in the phone booth was funny, and it was like, okay, I can kind of see where this is going, and then him going up to the body and doing the patented Ryan Reynolds reactions, and dumb, even though I like Ryan Reynolds, still dumb. And then he lays down on the corpse like, that's weird, it's quirky, it's funny, laugh. And then the ice cream thing was I mean, it's like not unfunny, but is it worth an audible laugh? No. And then the it'd be better if Logan was here. That was like, garbage, trash, horrible, terrible.
So before you poo-poo all over everything Deadpool and Ryan Reynolds and
I should backtrack. I still am excited for Deadpool 2. I like Deadpool 1.
I know. We have it on recording.
It'll be. I'm still excited. So, I mean, ish.
Before we go far down your hate pool, why don't you tell me now? This is no spoilers. We'll get into the spoilers in a little bit. Why don't you tell me what you thought about Logan?
Okay, so Logan is interesting because, okay, look, I know I'm not the demographic for these kind of things. Like, I don't give a shit about comics. I look at everything as just a movie, like a singular movie, and if it succeeds on that level. So I like some of the X-Men movies. I've hated the previous 2 Wolverine movies, and I know maybe there are things in this that maybe I look at differently than the core audience for this. And plot twist, I fucking loved it.
Yeah, you and most of the world, I think.
Yeah, I had decent hopes for it, and they were definitely exceeded. I think that Hugh Jackman as Wolverine has never been bad before. Like, he's been in bad movies, but he's never been bad. And this is just kind of like a whole new level. And I think it's because he's always just had really basic shit written for him as Wolverine for the most part. And this was like a whole nother level. And Patrick Stewart, like, seeing Professor X, like, call Wolverine a motherfucker is awesome. And I always forget his name. The villain guy, Boyd Holbrook, I think. Something like that. He was really good.
Boyd Holbrook Pierce, that's what his name was.
Yeah.
I think it was Price.
Right. So, and then, not to mention that girl, that little girl,
Daphne Keene.
as
Yeah,
Laura X-23.
She might be like the most impressive child actor I have seen in like forever. Because I don't know how old she actually is, but it is nearly impossible for me to not hate a performance if the actor is like under, 55 years old. Or that's an exaggeration. Like if they're like I hate child actors. That's what I'm getting at. Fucking sue me. But I hate child actors. I think they're terrible. I hate parts that are written for children because they always try and play to the adorable factor, which is totally lost on me because children are piss. But she was so fucking good that I was just like so immersed in the movie expecting her to become terrible. And when we get into spoilers later on, I'll talk more about this, but just long story short, it never happened. She was great the entire time, and holy shit, I hope she does more stuff. Now, as far as people saying that this is a near perfect movie or the Marvel's answer to The Dark Knight and a masterpiece, I'm not sure where I'm at with that. I wouldn't go that far, but I think it's great. And I hate to just echo what everybody else is saying, but like, you can't not. Like, you're kind of a douche if you say anything else about this. Like, what can you say that's even bad in this movie? Like, there's not a lot.
Well, and it's funny that you say that because I literally the next day after I saw this movie, I went on Reddit. I went on Reddit and there was a thread all about Logan, including spoilers. So I read through it and it was like on Reddit, mind you, the bad reviews of this were few and far between. And you spoke about echoing. They were saying the same thing. Saying couldn't stop praising 11. She's either 11 or 12. She was born in 2005. Daphne Keane. They could not stop praising her. And I almost had the same thought as you because when the start of the movie started, before she really got to we got into her character, other than just kind of like this silent, semi-vulnerable killing machine. It really did seem like it was not going to be she was not going to be the breakout character that everybody was saying she was.
Right.
So yeah, go ahead.
Yes. I'll get more into that when we talk about spoilers stuff because I don't want to. Even though this is going to be up probably a week after it's come out, and I know almost nobody listens to this anyway, but I'd rather not spoil any part of it because it really is a movie where it don't read up about it before you see it and just see it just right now. Just if you haven't already, I don't know what you're doing. Just go right now.
Definitely.
Spoiler free. And let's some other things again without spoiling. I just want to keep kind of praising some of the individual people in it because Stephen Merchant, who I've only ever seen in comedies, was really good. He was Caliban. Which he was awesome. The girl from I don't remember her name. But she's in Orange is the New Black, I think. Yeah, and she was also Elizabeth Rodriguez. I just remembered it.
Oh yeah, was that the caretaker lady?
The nurse that
brought X-23 to Logan.
Yeah, so she annoys the crap out of me on Orange is the New Black. But in this, I was like, oh shit, she's way better in this than in that show. That even though I like that show, I continue to hate it every day. But anyway, all of this, and then let's just without getting too far away. Director James Mangold. I've been kind of a fan of his, sort of, because I grew up watching Copland a lot.
Copland?
Copland, yeah, with Sylvester Stallone and Ray Liotta and Robert De Niro and Harvey Keitel. It was like it was like in the 90s when Stallone was trying to do more like serious drama kind of thing to try and reclaim like the Rocky level of like critical success. But anyway, Copland is a great movie. And most of his other movies I've seen have been really average. And then The Wolverine, the last movie he did, is one of my top 20 like worst, like least favorite movies ever. So to do that and then 4 years later come back with what is one of my favorite comic book movies ever is pretty amazing. So James Mangold, I have been cursing your name for 4 years now. But you're all right again.
James Mangold is just all right with me.
Jimmy Mangold is just all right with me.
Yeah, we spoke about this in our last episode. Our concern that it was the same director as that terrible The Wolverine movie, he, showed everybody what he was made of. I don't think there's anything more that you can say about it, but that. But I was actually, the whole time I was watching Logan, I was trying to figure out, I was like, I know who Caliban is. Who is Caliban? And then I got home, and I was like, oh, fuck, that's the same guy that, like, hangs out with Ricky Gervais and makes fun of Carl Pilkington.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I don't know how much more you want to say to it. We're already 30 minutes in. Do we want to go into spoiler territory?
I think it's probably a good idea. I mean, I'll just say, again, like, I cannot stress this enough, that if you don't like comic book movies, this movie is still good. And, again, don't listen to the overly positive things where people are, saying, like, it's literally like Jesus Christ if he were a film. Like, don't buy into that, but it is a great movie in itself. You don't need to care about X-Men or anything that is related to it. You just need to like good movies, and you'll like this, and just go see it.
Yeah, that being said, if you do like X-Men, don't take him saying you don't need to like X-Men, saying to be that it's not for X-Men fans, because shit, it is.
Yeah, I was gonna ask more about this. I'm a sort of a fan of X-Men in the film world, but it's very different than those. And again, before we get into spoilers, the rated R aspect of this is no bullshit. Like, it is not a publicity
it's
stunt.
not a light R
rating. Like, the very first line in the movie is, "What the fuck?" And it just goes from there. And if you watch the other X-Men movies and thought, like, man, I wish Wolverine stabbed more people in the face, then here you go.
There you do it. That's how it does it.
That's this entire thing.
Yeah, from the first line to even the first scene, it definitely sets that tone.
Like right off the bat, like
it's not.
we are not fucking
hold
around.
Your hand into it. And speaking of not holding your hand, it actually. Oh, that's one of the complaints I did see, is that it didn't do enough establishing. But I think that's a bullshit claim, because one, there's already been fucking 12, 13, 20, 100 movies about the X-Men. And right. Two, like, you didn't need to know anything about Logan. He's a man who is not in his prime, and he's got superpowers, and then like, that's all you need to know, is that he used to be way better than he is now. And it's pretty evident.
And I think a lot of it's better left ambiguous and not filled in completely. Like, there's a lot of things that they like hint at that are not fully explained, and I think they're better off that way, to where it's just because they're not super important. These things that I'm sure they're complaining about, they're not super important to the core story, which is literally just about Logan and him being way past his prime, like you said. And yeah, I don't agree with that at all.
Yeah,
I think
go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I think this is probably a good time just so we can stop having to watch what we say. We should just say spoilers from this point on. If you have not seen Logan, you go see it now. Do not listen to the rest of this. We're going to spoil the fuck out of it. Go see it.
We'll wait. We'll sit right here.
Yes. Pause it. We'll still be here. Neither of us do anything. We are complete shit burnouts.
Burnout.
Hack frauds.
Movie burnouts. Anyways, so spoiler alert. If you haven't caught it by now, spoiler. Now, some of the things that people complained about not being established is what happened to all of the X-Men. What happened to all of the mutants. They definitely answered it in the movie on what happened, because in this movie, one of the first things you hear from Stephen Merchant's character, Professor X, says that they're some of the last mutants around.
Right.
Which is analogous to the Old Man Logan stories, the comic books, but that's about where the analogies lie, or where the similarities end, is because in the Old Man comics, Logan comics, Wolverine is the one who actually killed everybody, where in this one it was Professor X because of his Alzheimer's. I believe they were trying to portray Professor X has Alzheimer's in this.
Something like that.
Yeah, some sort of degenerative brain disease. And Logan, his job, he drives a limo and he takes care of Professor X. And that's all he does, and he's trying to get up enough money to get Professor X on a boat where he can get far away from people so that this doesn't happen again, because Professor X, in one of his seizures, killed the X-Men, the remaining X-Men, Scott and Jean Grey and Storm, from the timeline.
So that's what... Yeah, Scarface, shut up. Oh my god. Do not talk back to me while I'm with my boys. Oh my god. This is... Don't get cats. Never get cats.
Don't get cats.
Jesus. Anyway, so I did, because again, I'm not familiar with the comics at all, even a little bit. So was it that the so that's what they were implying, was that Professor X killed them all through some sort of, like, whatever happened, like whatever brain disease he's having.
Psychic event.
Okay. So, but was that was just the core X-Men, right? Like the ones that were in the trailer. Like what happened to the rest of them was the result of the whatever
basically
corporation
Dr. Rice,
that is, right?
Played by Richard E. Grant, the corporation he worked for, InGenetics or something like that, was basically systematically putting something in the food that was breeding the mutant gene out of humanity. And that's why they say that there are no more mutants left. There are no more mutants. They haven't been mutant born since 2009, I believe they said, for 10 years or 20 years, they said. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe it was 20 years, because it's 2029 that this takes place in. Right.
Yeah, 2029. So okay, so with that, I, again, getting back to that being people's complaints, I was really glad that that's where they left it and that they didn't dwell on it, and I am super, super glad that they didn't show it.
Yeah.
Because this kind of, like, the style of this movie is, like, fairly grounded. Like, it's not as fantastical and, like, I mean, like, you know, giant CGI battle scenes and all that. Like, it's a very contained movie. You know what I mean? Like it's pretty. It's just. It's not a lot of extras. Like they trimmed the fat, and they're not about making it glamorous. And I feel like if you were to have a scene where in this movie, like a movie that's not that CGI filled, and you have this scene where, all the X-Men are there and Professor X, like, just having that type of scene in this movie would have totally derailed it. Like,
I agree.
Like 100%. And I was so happy that they didn't do that because I was expecting them to. Just to be like, look at all this fan service. We got the X-Men back together. Haha! We're still feeding the fans. And that would have pissed me off so much, but they didn't do it. So good on you.
That's one thing that you mentioned, I believe, last episode about Super Troopers is that you're afraid it's going to be full of fan service.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I'm sure would have been a very valid fear walking into this movie. But there wasn't near as much of that as any of its comic book predecessors, except for maybe like the first Iron Man and the first X-Men, because they didn't have these other movies to feed off of. But there was a couple of visual nods to the original X-Men, but I loved how they played that into the story. Like these characters became gods, and that then spawned to the comic. Well, not gods, but like icons, and then spawned the comic books and these toys and things that we know. And it's something that's why the Laura character gets brought to Logan in the first place.
Yeah, and at first I was not on board at all with the whole we're reading X-Men comics in X-Men because my whole thing with that type of shit. But as it went on, I grew to not only accept it but think that it was a good choice. So good job again, movie.
Yeah, just to fuel Logan's skepticism by putting the place where he's trying to get this girl in this comic book, like they got the coordinates directly out of a comic book.
Yeah.
It was such a great device to really make him, think that she doesn't know what she's talking about because she's a kid.
Right.
So I think that really kind of like maybe didn't fuel the main conflict, but fueled one of the internal conflicts with Logan, and maybe external with Logan and this little girl.
Yeah, and speaking of just like their relationship, like between her and Logan, this would have been. I kept thinking of the Wolverine and how forced and shitty everything is in that piece of shit where everything, like nothing feels natural. Everything is like spelled out for you in that. Like, I don't even remember who the fuck love interest or whatever the fuck she was in that movie, but I expected that kind of thing in this. Except more of a father-daughter kind of thing. And yet, they did it in a way where it was not forced, and it was not like there wasn't that scene where, Logan's like...
get over here, kid.
Yeah, or like some stupid shit like, you're not gonna date till you're 15, like some pandering to your audience bullshit humor to establish a relationship. Like they did everything to where it felt really organic, to where at the end where he's going to he's going to save the kids, but mainly he's doing it to save her. Even though, we all knew that was going to happen, it felt like a logical choice for Wolverine instead of what most movies do, where they have the thinnest of motivations to be heroic. Like this actually had it was, and it's all done in like subtleties. Like nothing is spelled out completely. Like he's not sitting there, with the binoculars going, I gotta save her for she is my daughter, and something like that. Like it's all very subtle, and it's not made for idiots, which I appreciated.
He doesn't want to at first. Like, he doesn't want to have anything to do with it. He just wants to get him and the professor out of there because that's all he's been trying to do since the end of where Days of Future Past ended up on the good note after they changed everything. Like, that's all he's been doing for the last 6 years or not 6 years, for the last X amount of time. I saw a very interesting timeline that did a very good job of explaining the whole, like, Days of Future Past, what's canon, what's not anymore, because they changed the timeline. It did a great job of it, but I couldn't recall it all now. But anyways, there's, he spent his last, X amount of years of his life just trying to take care of the professor after whatever it was happened that, caused him to take out all the other X-Men.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know if we've accurately discussed how good Hugh Jackman is in this, because Hugh Jackman is a good actor. He just unfortunately is, he's a movie star. He's like a Hollywood movie star. So a lot of the stuff he gets cast in is usually, unfortunately, pretty hollow. And, he, as good as he is in everything, I don't think he's given the chance to, like, really, really show just how good he can be. People may have seen some things that I haven't with him. I haven't seen, like, every Hugh Jackman movie ever, but he is just so good in this. Like, it's, people want to talk about the movie being flawless, and I think that's not correct, but as far as his performance goes, I think that is pretty flawless. And in a perfect world where, things like the Oscars are catered more towards actual talent and not like, the opinions of a bunch of fat fucking pretentious people. I think that this would definitely be like an Oscar-worthy kind of thing. And I don't care if that sounds stupid. Like, he is so good. He shows, like, every different emotion in this. It's like, and it's so organic. It's so fucking, like, just fine-tuned, like, every scene. And that's, probably half James Mangold, too. But, man, like, talk about a performance that is so much better than is required for a movie like this.
Yeah, and there's, a lot of people who are saying it's probably not going to happen because it's a comic book movie. There's a lot of people saying that this is, award-worthy, Oscar-worthy, or what the case may be. But it's rare that we get to say a actor gets to say goodbye to a character in this sort of fashion. He's been playing Wolverine for 17 years now.
Yeah,
and
17 years. Damn.
How many can you think of one other franchise that anybody's gotten to walk away from on such a high note? Like,
I really can't. Usually departures of this type are either like they're just done because the actor's sick of playing them and just show up for one last payday. It's really been my experience with this kind of thing, but this was not that at all. This was like, we're going out and we're going out on top. And not only are they going out like on top, this like blows all of the other movies out of the water to like such a high degree. Now, I haven't seen, I may have said this before, but X2 has always been my favorite X-Men movie, and I haven't seen that in so long. I don't know how that compares to this, but I just have a feeling that this is still on top. Like, it is, man, like, and this is me, dude, like, this is me.
I know.
Like, I don't give a two fucks about comic books.
Let's take a drink to something that Jeff genuinely enjoys.
Yes, good. And then I'm going to talk about all the shit I don't like in a second.
Okay, well, here's to the good times.
Oh, fuck. Talk too soon. Shit, where was I? Oh, yeah. So the finale, like the grand finale of this movie, which is essentially a 2 hour and 17 minute grand finale, I again was kind of thinking it was going to slip into the like the overly dramatic, again, pander to the audience, try and make them cry, so everybody who's easily susceptible to the feels, like all the stupid people, are gonna feel something. And I have to say, like, it didn't feel pandery. It didn't feel forced. Even though there was the scene of, her saying like "Papa" or "Dada" or whatever the fuck.
Well, hold on. You got to stop for a second because we haven't even gotten there. Because we haven't mentioned, and again, spoiler alert if you've gotten this far, but we lose both the professor and Logan in this movie, and you say that you were worried that there's going to be this big pandery, try and get you to cry send off. You're right. It did not. Neither of those felt like that. But on at least 2 occasions in the movie, my fiance had to lean over to me and say, "You're squeezing my hand." That movie will get you. I didn't cry, but man, they certainly tried. They weren't trying, and that's what made it great.
The thing is, I think they were trying, but they were doing it correctly. They weren't taking the easy way out. And that's kind of where I was going with this, because the Logan and daughter thing, seeing Logan go out like that, they did it up a little bit to where it had the same dramatic things, and that's fine because it was done correctly. Now with the professor, this is again we're full circle. This is what I was going back to. Professor, that comes out of nowhere, and it is really just I'm sure everybody thought that was a dream sequence going okay, he's dreaming. And then when you realize what's going on, you're like, wait a minute, did they just fucking kill Professor X again? But this time we know that it's for real and not, gonna have to be retconned because the movie that it happened in sucked, X3. But dude, that was, I liked that better than I liked the final death of Logan. I liked the Professor X thing because it really it comes out of nowhere. It's straight to the point. It feels like it's so simplistic that you almost feel cheated, but kind of like you would if it in like a real death.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to say. It's like an actual, when somebody you love gets taken from you. Exactly. I'm not saying I love Professor X but it's so sudden and so
exactly.
Is this real? Is this not real? I couldn't think of a better death to actually capture the essence of what death actually feels like to a normal person.
Right, and that's what a good movie does. Is it doesn't tell you what you're supposed to feel about something. It does that and kind of subtly steers you towards feeling a certain way, but it's not going to outwardly come out and say, "Hey, y'all supposed to be crying right now." It's it hits like that.
And when it comes to the professor, you almost didn't even have time to soak it in at all, because it goes from he's dead, Logan puts him in the truck, fights the bad guy, which I don't even know if we're going to have time to get to the bad guy.
I know.
But fights the bad guy, and then they get back in the truck, and he's still alive when he puts him in the truck, but obviously he's stabbed to death. Yep. But not to death just yet. But and then they get in the truck, they see the body sitting in the back of the truck, the girl screams, and it's the movie went so fast after that, it's you didn't even have time to deal with it.
Yep. But then again, they did something, because if they cut it right there, it wouldn't be as impactful, because it would be oh, well, they can just bring him back whenever, because we didn't actually literally see him totally be movie dead, which is pretty much means, well, not even that you've exploded, because he kind of did that in the third one and came back. But anyway, it was like
did.
you
got
could
vaporized by the Phoenix, and
yeah,
still
exactly,
alive.
and he just popped up because fuck us. But they show that scene where they've buried him, and it's not the fact that you're seeing a grave, and it's not even the scene that was before it. It's Logan's reaction to it. It's Hugh Jackman's performance that sinks in to Professor X is fucking dead, all in a non-verbal performance, and it all sinks in right there. Is that this is final? It happened. It's final. It's done. He's not coming back. A good day to you. On with the story, and that's awesome.
Yeah, it definitely made it hit home.
Yeah. Yes. Lots of good stuff like that. There was the like atmosphere of this kind of thing, like just the overall tone of it. I was on board with 100%. Especially the is that Scruff?
It's Scruff. Say hi,
Scruffy.
Scruff. We said hi to Scarface. We said hi to Scruff.
Yeah, both of our animals are being overly obnoxious. But anyway, yeah. So the atmosphere that they were doing, like the tone, is, again, from the very beginning, like I said, a lot more grounded, and just, I mean, obviously the term darker gets thrown around, but whatever, it's darker. But that kind of leads to some things that I just like. I feel like maybe these aren't even complaints. These are just things that like 100% would have benefited the movie. And the main one for me is going along with that tone and that atmosphere. The movie, the way that it is directed is it's very like clean and polished. And when the performances and the story and everything else internally in the movie kind of has this like really gritty, like not shiny, like rough around the edges kind of feel. It just feels weird that the movie is shot so clean. Does that make sense? Like it's kind of like it's kind of like you have this super lighthearted framework for like a super lighthearted frame for a very dark, like what it contains is super dark. I don't know if I'm conveying this very well. Does that make sense, what I'm saying, or is this just hipster drivel?
You're actually gonna have to say it again. I missed it. I was just making sure my roommate who just walked in knew that there were spoilers. So
okay, well, that's good. I appreciate your patronage, because spoilers, some people don't react harshly enough to spoilers, so good on you. But what I was saying is, like, with the tone and the atmosphere, it kind of feels like the movie aspect of it, like the cinematography, from the lighting to everything, how it's directed, how it's shot. It almost feels too clean for a movie where the story and the performances and the set pieces and everything are very gritty and dirty and rough. But then you have this super neat and clean frame around it. And I feel like if you took the super neat and clean frame and made that a little darker and grittier, you would have something that is even more engrossing and more impactful. Because the few times I was kind of taken out of this had to do with how
so I see what
shot.
you're saying. You feel like they missed an opportunity by not framing it a little bit differently.
Yeah, like just how it's just the visual style of it. I feel like should have been. I mean, I don't want to tell them how to do their vision, but it's, what am I saying? I do that all the fucking time. But anyway, in this case, it's just. It really, really would have been to its benefit to do that, because a lot of the criticisms I have would be completely resolved if that was taken out.
Well, and I feel like that's a legit criticism as opposed to, they didn't do enough, setting up to let us know what's going on.
Yeah, that's all.
They didn't
dumb.
or one of the bigger criticisms I had, I think we touched, or not that I had, that people had, and we touched on it, and it got resolved, was that she was mute for half the movie, or seemingly mute for half the movie.
Right. And yeah. I wanted to just what I was talking about earlier was as I was thinking that girl was what's her name again? Daphne Keane.
Daphne Keane. Yep.
Okay. So Daphne Keane, for most of the movie, when I was like, man, she is like super good, it occurred to me that maybe the reason she is so good is because she didn't have any lines for a while and is pretty much just screaming and, looking agitated, the entire time, like not really doing that. And I thought, okay, maybe that's what's happening. And then she talks and says her lines. And there's that one scene where she's like going off on him in Spanish and then says a little bit of English. But then as it continued, like, it's like, oh no, she is still fucking great and actually like way better than you would have thought even beforehand when she had no lines. Like, usually with child actors, the Achilles heel is you give them lines, and yet she improved with her lines. Like, she was so good in this. I cannot believe that they found a tiny human that is that good at acting, because usually they're all shit.
Yeah, well, and it's, there's a world famous trope about child actors, and I haven't heard any behind the scenes stories about her, but if she is as professional as she comes across, like just seeing her performance, then she's obviously got a big future ahead of her, and hopefully it's with the whatever her future within the X-Men franchise is.
I hope that this is the end of X-Men, just because this is such a high note to go out on.
I can guarantee you it's not, my friend.
I know, and I'm not gonna dwell on this, because this is a whole nother episode. But this should be the end. Days of Future Past, I thought, was a perfect ending for the X-Men story. And then Apocalypse came out. I know you liked Apocalypse. I saw it recently, and I really, really didn't at all. And that is just, it was such a downer to watch that. And this was like a redemption of sorts for both the Wolverine franchise and the X-Men franchise. I don't see it getting much better than this. And for the love of God, just stop making them, because you're already at the top. You're only going to make them worse. They did it once with fucking X2, you were on top, you should have quit. Then they come out with X3 and this bullshit, and then Days of Future Past comes out and you're redeemed again, and then you make that fucking fuck ass Apocalypse, and then you're finally at the peak. You were at the peak of comic book movies, and the X-Men just don't make any more. just know when to quit. God damn it. This is the peak. You will never outdo this one. No matter what you do, this is the peak. You're not going to outdo this. You just won't. End it here.
I would agree with you, but you know how I am about comic book movies. I can't stop. So, but on that note, I think we should end it. We're at a solid hour now. Jeff, let's take a drink and say goodbye.
Let's take a drink and say goodbye, just as we said goodbye to Logan and Professor X.
Glasses high for the fallen.
High for the fallen.
Cheers.
Cheers indeed.
Scruff says cheers as well.
Cheers to you, Scruff. You adorable little bastard, you.
Adorable little bastard. All right, Jeff.
Toodles and strudels.